They said she'd fail. They said she'd be buried. They said Jade Cargill made the biggest mistake of her career walking away from Tony Khan's Golden Palace to step into Vince McMahon's War Machine. But what she just admitted, what she finally revealed after months of silence, is going to shake the wrestling world to its core. This isn't just another wrestling story. This is about survival, betrayal, and the truth behind one of the most controversial jumps in modern wrestling history. You think you know what happened? You don't. Not until you hear this. Before we dive into the absolute chaos that is about to unfold, I need something from you. Because what I'm about to share with you today isn't just content, it's the kind of truth that gets buried, the kind of story that changes how you see everything. And if you care about real wrestling, if you want to know what really happens behind those curtains, behind those billion-dollar contracts and those scripted smiles, then I need you with me. Hit that subscribe button right now. Not later. Right now. Because SLAMZONE is where the real stories get told. We don't hide. We don't sugarcoat. We give you the raw, unfiltered truth that makes your blood pump and your heart race. Smash that like button, turn on those notifications, because when we drop content like this, you don't want to miss it. You want to be here when the wrestling world catches fire. This channel, this is your family now. And family doesn't let family miss moments like this. Let me take you back. Take you back to where this all started. The year is 2021. All Elite Wrestling is the hottest thing in professional wrestling. Tony Khan has money flowing like waterfalls, and he's building an empire to challenge WWE's decades-long stranglehold on the industry. And then, she appears. Jade Cargill. 6 feet tall. Muscle definition that looks carved from marble by the gods themselves. Confidence radiating off her like heat from the sun. She walks into AEW with zero wrestling experience and declares herself that bitch. Not a wrestler. Not a rookie. But the attraction. The main event. The future. And you know what? She backed it up. 50 wins. 0 losses. The TBS championship strapped around her waist for 508 days. That's not a typo. 508 days. She demolished everyone they put in front of her. Veterans, legends, young stars trying to make their name, didn't matter. Jade Cargill was untouchable, unbeatable, unstoppable. The crowds chanted her name. Little girls wore her merchandise. She became the face of women's wrestling in AEW without even breaking a sweat. She was Khan's prized possession, the centerpiece of his women's division, the undeniable proof that AEW could create stars from scratch. But something was happening behind the scenes. Something the cameras didn't show. Something that was eating away at the foundation of what looked like a perfect partnership. You could feel it in her interviews. The way her smile didn't quite reach her eyes anymore. The way she'd pause just a little too long when asked about her future. The way she'd deflect questions about her contract status with carefully rehearsed answers that said everything and nothing at the same time. And then, like a bomb going off in the middle of the wrestling landscape, the news dropped. Jade Cargill was leaving AEW. The internet exploded. Twitter became a war zone. Reddit threads stretched for miles. Everyone had an opinion. AEW fans felt betrayed, like she'd stabbed them in the back after they'd supported her rise. WWE fans were excited, salivating at the thought of what Triple H could do with someone of her caliber. Critics and analysts debated whether she was making a career-defining move or committing professional suicide. Because here's the thing, going to WWE isn't like changing jobs at your local office. This is stepping into the most cutthroat, political, backstabbing environment in all of entertainment. This is where legends get buried, where promising careers go to die, where Vince McMahon's whims can turn you from a champion to a comedy act in the span of a single episode. They pointed to Sting, who left WWE and became a god in TNA. They pointed to Cody Rhodes, who left WWE, built himself up in the indies in AEW, and then came back on his terms. But they also pointed to EC3, who was a monster in Impact and became a jobber in WWE. They pointed to Bobby Lashley's first run, wasted potential for years. They pointed to every cautionary tale of talent who thought they could change the system and got chewed up instead. So when Jade Cargill made that walk, when she signed that contract, when she stepped foot in the WWE Performance Center for the first time, the pressure wasn't just on her shoulders. It was crushing her from every direction. Prove you belong. Prove you're not just a pretty face with muscles. Prove that your undefeated streak wasn't just AEW booking you strong. Prove that you can hang with Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley, Becky Lynch, the absolute killers of the women's division who've been doing this at the highest level for years. And for months, we watched. We analyzed every appearance, every match, every backstory. We looked for cracks. We waited for the moment when she'd crumble under the weight of expectations. But here's where the story takes a turn. Here's where everything you thought you knew gets flipped upside down. And before I tell you what she admitted, what she finally confessed after all this time, I need you to do something for me. If you're feeling this story, if you're on the edge of your seat right now wondering what comes next, hit that like button. It takes 1 second. 1 click. But it tells me that you're invested, that you want more of this content, that SLAMZONE is where you come for the truth. Subscribe if you haven't already. Comment below and tell me, did Jade make the right choice? Was leaving AEW the smartest move of her career, or did she walk into a trap? I want to hear from you. I want this to be a conversation, not just me talking at you, because that's what we do here. We're not just viewers. We're a community. We're family. So let me tell you what Jade Cargill finally admitted. What she sat down and revealed in an interview that sent shockwaves through every wrestling forum, every social media platform, every locker room conversation in the business. She said leaving AEW was the hardest decision of her life. Not because she wasn't ready. Not because she was scared, but because AEW was her home. It was where she was born as a wrestler, where she built her legacy, where she became that bitch the world fell in love with. But here's the brutal truth she shared: she felt limited. She felt like she'd reached the ceiling of what AEW could offer her. Not because AEW didn't want to push her. Not because Tony Khan didn't see her value. But because the structure, the opportunities, the global platform she needed to become more than just a wrestling star, it wasn't there. She admitted that WWE represented something bigger. The international tours. The WrestleMania moments. The crossover into mainstream media that only WWE can provide. The chance to be on billboards, in movies, on talk shows, in video games that reach millions of people who've never watched a single wrestling match. She said, and these are her words, that she didn't leave AEW to run away from anything. She left to run toward everything she dreamed of becoming. Can you imagine that courage? Can you imagine walking away from guaranteed success, from a company that treated you like royalty, from a fan base that worshipped you, to step into the unknown? To risk everything you built because you believed in yourself that much? That's not betrayal. That's not selling out. That's the mindset of a champion. That's the mindset of someone who refuses to settle. Someone who looks at their comfort zone and says, not good enough. I want more. I deserve more. And you know what the craziest part is? She was right. Since joining WWE, Jade Cargill has been paired with Bianca Belair, forming one of the most dominant tag teams in recent memory. She's competed at premium live events watched by millions around the world. She's been featured in storylines that give her character depth, that let her personality shine beyond just being the undefeated monster. She's learning from the best coaches in the business. She's working with the most experienced performers on the planet. She's getting reps in a system designed to create global superstars, not just wrestling champions. But here's what she also admitted, and this is the part that got me. The part that made me realize how real this all is. She said there are nights when she misses AEW. Nights when she watches Dynamite or Collision and sees her friends, sees the locker room she helped build, sees the TBS championship she held for so long, and she feels a pang of nostalgia. A moment of doubt. A whisper in her head asking if she made the right choice. Because that's the human side of this story. That's the part we forget when we're arguing online about ratings and star ratings and whose roster is better. These are real people making life-changing decisions with incomplete information, hoping they're choosing the right path but never really knowing until it's too late to turn back. Jade Cargill admitted that jumping from AEW to WWE wasn't just about money. It wasn't just about fame. It was about proving to herself that she could conquer the mountain everyone said was too steep to climb. It was about facing her fears, facing the critics, facing the possibility of failure, and doing it anyway. And that is what makes a legend. Not the undefeated streak. Not the championship reigns. Not the viral moments or the merchandise sales, but the courage to risk everything you've built because you believe in something greater than comfort and security. She could have stayed in AEW, collected her checks, maintained her streak, retired as one of the most protected wrestlers in modern history. But she chose the harder path. She chose the path where she might fail, where she might get lost in the shuffle, where everything she built could crumble. But she also chose the path where she could become immortal. And that's where we are right now. Watching Jade Cargill write her story in real time. Watching her prove that sometimes the biggest risk is the one that leads to the greatest reward. So here's what I need from you before we close this out. If this story inspired you, if it made you think differently about what it takes to be great, if it reminded you that legends aren't born from safe choices, then show me. Hit that like button. Subscribe to SLAMZONE if you haven't already, because this is where we tell the stories that matter. This is where we dive deeper than headlines and hot takes. This is where we celebrate the courage it takes to be different, to be bold, to be legendary. Comment below. Tell me your Jade Cargill story. Tell me if you think she'll be WWE champion one day. Tell me if you understand why she left or if you still think she made a mistake. Let's talk. Let's build this community together. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Someone chasing their own dreams. Someone standing at their own crossroads wondering if they should play it safe or go all in. Because Jade's story isn't just about wrestling. It's about life. It's about having the guts to bet on yourself when everyone else is betting against you. This is SLAMZONE. This is where champions are celebrated, stories are told, and legends are born. Jade Cargill didn't just jump from AEW to WWE. She jumped into history. And we're all here to witness what happens next. I'll see you in the next one. Stay legendary.